morning. Thank you for being here today. We are gathered on the traditional territory of the signatories of Treaty 7, and we also acknowledge the homelands of the Métis Nation within Region 3. My name is Shannon Phillips. I'm the Alberta NDP candidate for Lethbridge-West, and I'm joined today by Nelles, the Alberta NDP candidate for Airdrie East, and Shaun Fluker, the Alberta NDP candidate for Airdrie Cochrane. There is less than a week left in this critical election, and Albertans have a clear choice. We can choose to build a better future with trusted leadership in the form of Rachel Notley, a leader who says what she means and means what she says. Or we can move backwards with Danielle Smith, a leader who spurs chaos, supports extremists, and changes her position on critical issues by the year, by the month, by the day, even within the hour. Now, I know that Danielle Smith is tightly scripted these days, but let's be honest, this isn't the real Danielle Smith. She has told Albertans who she is over and over and over again. And she clearly has a hidden agenda for the next 4 years for Alberta. She's just working overtime to hide it from Albertans. Now, first, she will make you pay to see a family doctor. She has said this countless times. She's drafted policy papers. She's embarked on speaking tours across the province, pushing this idea. Her belief in wanting to privatize our healthcare isn't just some offhanded comments, but what she truly believes in. For example, she wrote in the Calgary Herald, quote, "A patient's healthcare card could be swiped like a credit card. The patient would sign a detailed receipt approving his services, and the portion he is responsible for would be tacked on to his provincial income tax." It couldn't be more clear than that. She believes visits to your family doctor should not be covered by government. And she wants to create a payment relationship between doctors and patients. Again, those are her words, on tape, in writing. This will do nothing to help the many Airdrie residents who are struggling even to find a family doctor. Second, she wants to sell off public hospitals. Hospitals like the Rocky View and the Peter Lougheed in Calgary, hospitals that Airdrie and Cochrane residents rely upon. In 2021, not so long ago, she outlined her plan for different groups of doctors and a different group of patients to run our public hospitals. That means they set the terms of care and the, quote, payment relationship, and Albertans will pay more and the wealthy can jump to the front of the line. We see this time after time south of the border. That plan that Danielle Smith outlined in 2021 is American healthcare. It's the very structure of American-style healthcare. We cannot afford these kinds of privatization experiments. We can't afford to sell off hospitals. We need to build hospitals. This is why an Alberta NDP government will begin working on the North Calgary Regional Health Centre, a centre we believe will also provide quality healthcare services to Albertans closer to home, particularly in this community. Now, third, Danielle Smith also wants to take Alberta out of the Canada Pension Plan, which gambles away our retirement security. She wants to steal the pensions earned by people after a lifetime of hard work. That's their foregone income. It belongs to them, not to Danielle Smith. She campaigned on this a very, very extreme idea as far back as 2012, but then just last November, she signed a letter directing her finance minister to work on it. But now we're in an election campaign. She knows how unpopular this idea is. She's afraid to talk about it. She says we should talk about it after the election. In my view, the time to talk about it is today at the advanced polls. It's through to Saturday. That's the time to have this conversation at the ballot box through to Saturday and then on Monday. Pensions are on the ballot. Fourth, she will fire the local RCMP officers that would serve this community and others and bring in a provincial police service. She has directed her Attorney General to start working on creating the Alberta Police Service right away. Now, communities here in Airdrie, Cochrane, and elsewhere know that firing the RCMP won't improve public safety. They do know it will dramatically increase their costs. It will make life more expensive for all Albertans. An Alberta Provincial Police Service will cost municipalities as much as $1.36 billion, with a B, of transition costs and lost federal revenue. If that goes ahead, Airdrie residents, Cochrane residents, and every resident served by an RCMP police service can anticipate their property taxes to skyrocket. That's why over 70 municipalities have made their wishes clear in an open letter stating they don't want a provincial police service. But of course, the UCP ignored them. Fifth, Danielle Smith will spend hundreds of millions of dollars hiring 5,000 tax collectors for an Alberta Revenue Agency to collect our provincial income tax. This also means we will have to file our income taxes twice. She has said so herself on video, and her plan was later corroborated by former Finance Minister Travis Toews. Now, economists have called this bad idea, have said this bad idea will cost potentially $500 million a year. When I asked the finance minister how much it would cost, he said $500 million was the low-end estimate. The low-end estimate. I believe Albertans would rather hire 5,000 teachers or nurses instead of tax collectors, but those are clearly not Danielle Smith's priorities. Sixth, while regular families struggle with rising costs, Danielle Smith will hand over $20 billion to the biggest polluters. $20 billion to companies who refuse to clean up their abandoned well sites, even though they are legally obligated to do so under the terms of their approvals. Now, she pushed for this very bad idea while she was a lobbyist, even though Jason Kenney's energy minister at the time told her it violated the polluter pay principle. But when she got into the premier's chair, she fired that energy minister and appointed someone else that would implement this awful plan for her friends. These horrible ideas came from Danielle Smith herself, but she's not campaigning on any of them because she knows they are unpopular. So they are her hidden agenda. But Albertans are looking for a government that's focused on what matters, not on Danielle Smith's chaotic pet projects. By contrast, Rachel Notley and the Alberta NDP have a publicly available costed plan that reflects the needs of Albertans. We'll ensure that Albertans who need a doctor get a doctor. We won't sell hospitals. We will build them. We won't fire RCMP officers. We'll invest in hiring more police. We won't hire 5,000 tax collectors just so that you can file your income tax twice, because that's a dumb idea. We will cancel the $20 billion handout to polluters, and we will never gamble away your pension. In fact, we will pass legislation to protect it. And unlike Danielle Smith, Rachel Notley is a leader you can trust. You know what she stands for. She's a leader who says what she means and means what she says. You cannot trust Danielle Smith. Thank you, and I'm happy to take any questions you might have. I heard something there. Hi.
Oh, okay. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you, yes.
Perfect. Excellent. Good morning to all of you. Thank you so much for taking my question. My question is for both the candidates regarding hospitals. Airdrie does not have a hospital, and it has been an ongoing issue for many residents. And I do know that the NDP on May 12th mentioned pledging that they would have $23 million allocated over the next 3 years for the initial planning and design of the North Calgary Airdrie Regional Health Center. However, there is sentiment among Airdrie residents that a North Calgary Airdrie Health Center still does not address the need that there needs to be a hospital in Airdrie. Could any of the candidates clarify their positions on whether they would address this in legislature if they were elected, specifically to have a health center here in Airdrie, not in North Calgary? Thank you.
Okay.
Well, thanks very much for the question. And, I've been to many thousands of houses in Airdrie over the last several months. And the issue that's important to folks is the speed and quality of care that they're able to receive. They don't want to be traveling 30 minutes down the highway in order to receive access to emergency care or primary care. They need something that's closer to home. The North Calgary Health Campus, there's several details that are left to be ironed out about that. Would we be advocating for something that would be situated within Airdrie? Absolutely, that conversation will occur. However, we need to look at what overall Albertans' needs are and balance that with a plan that's focused on meeting the needs of everybody. And the location of the hospital is certainly, again, an issue to be looked at, but we need to focus more on what problem are we trying to solve. And the problem we're trying to solve is quality of care and timely access to care.
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the question. I guess what I would add to that is just one of our primary campaign proposals is, of course, our family health teams plan, which is designed to drastically improve primary care, which will take some of the stressors and pressures off of our hospitals and our emergency departments. And we need to find a way to keep Airdrie and Cochrane ambulances in those communities. And so those are, I think, two big priorities that will drastically improve health care here in Airdrie and in Cochrane. Thank you.
Yes, one more follow-up. As far as the ambulance issues in both Airdrie and Cochrane, one of the questions that reporters, I think, seem to have is that the data that AHS often puts out on their public-facing website isn't necessarily always up to date, and individuals, residents, myself, we have to FOIP information. That takes time, and by the time we get that information, it's already stale. Is there any way NDP candidates would be open to having a discussion about AHS, EMS providing real-time statistics for Airdrie and Cochrane, so residents could see with more clarity and transparency whether the implemented plans are actually working? And that would be all. Thank you.
I'll just quickly address that one. Of course, we've committed to a full EMS review, and this would be part of that access to data. We've heard this many times from municipalities and from frontline care providers as well. The other piece that I will just note there is when you have a government led by Rachel Notley, you have a government that is not perpetually at war with Alberta Health Services, firing the board and putting someone in charge as some sort of administrator to drive up and down the highway in a limo service, which is apparently his main accomplishment so far. The fact of the matter is that you will have restoration of predictability and stability and some respect for the work that Alberta Health Services does from the front lines on through. And when you have that, you have an ability for citizens to interact with their healthcare system and with the information that's coming out of our healthcare system in a way that makes sense.
Hi, this is Lisa Johnson from the Edmonton Journal. I have a question for Shaun Fluker about a news release that we got from the United Conservative Party this morning. They point to your work with the University of Calgary Public Interest Law Clinic when you represented the Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment, intervening in the Supreme Court case on Bill C-69. I'm just wondering if you can tell us what your opinion of Bill C-69 is and maybe respond to some of the accusations that they're lobbying here. They are essentially saying that you support the No More Pipelines Act. Can you clarify?
Thanks for the question. I haven't seen the news release yet. I guess all I would be able to say this morning is that I was there as legal counsel for a client, and so without having seen the release, I unfortunately don't feel comfortable answering the question beyond that.
I mean, in general, could you tell us what your opinion of Bill C-69 is?
Well, I mean, I was there on behalf. I appeared as legal counsel on behalf of the Canadian Association of Physicians for the Environment. So, as is always the case in litigation or legal proceedings, I mean, I was there advocating on behalf of the client and the client's position in relation to that legislation. And so, I wasn't there to assert my own position on that legislation.
Do you want me to provide Rachel's view?
Sure.